From lashing out at the umpire because of the venue to trying to rationalize his rants about the hard court, here's why Daniil Medvedev is so furious over the poor conditions at Indian Wells Court. Let's begin with the fact that he wasn't really thrilled with how fast the courts were. And after beating Ilya Ivashka in the third round 6-2, 3-6, 6-1, Medvedev has won 16 straight matches. That's insane. So he's kept his winning streak going. But he had a lot to say about the court surface at what many people call the fifth Grand Slam. After losing the second set, Medvedev yelled at the umpire before going to the toilet. He said, "I'm going to be as slow as this court." Plus, he also said that it means the umpire could take 25 minutes. Since the court was slow, so was he, and he took his time. The Swedish umpire, Mohamed Lehani, wanted the Russian to agree to the terms, but he said that he doesn't accept this claim. According to him, the fact sheet said the courts at Indian Wells are hard, so this isn't a tough case. And after he won, Medvedev said again that the conditions were very difficult, adding that it's not easy to play here for anyone. He went on to talk about how he thinks there are around 10 players who can play well there. What allows them to do that? According to him, they have something special in their game that can help them. But he won't say who they are, though, which sounds kinda sketchy. And aside from that, he thinks that everyone was having a hard time. He was like, you can see a lot of matches where one set is 6-1, and when you watch it on TV and you think that the other player isn't playing badly. But then after 25 shots, you miss a few shots at important times. That was kind of the difference between the second and third sets. The player didn't really claim that he played better in the third, but after 25 shots, he was the only one who didn't miss. Though what really made the difference was him being a little bit better at the important times. I would say it was easy for him, but it wasn't easy for anyone. Medvedev said that he's going to keep trying to get through this, because everyone was saying that when he plays Alexander Zverev in the fourth round, the former number one will have to keep fighting. The thing is, they had played each other 12 times before this, and each of them won 6 times. So if the Russian wanted to reach the quarterfinals of Indian Wells for the first time, he needed to win the head-to-head. Plus, Medvedev said of the German, who had just come back from a serious ankle injury, he thinks they both know each other very well. So Medvedev continued on how every match against such a top player's a fresh start. Every time Zverev tries to change, Medvedev tries to change as well. He remembered that when the German beat him at the 2021 ATP Finals in Turin, he played very well. Zverev did a great job of serving, so that was the key for him. But it's also the fact that Medvedev hinted that the German was probably the favorite, since Zverev wasn't in as good a shape as he was before he got hurt at Roland Garros. But he was still aware of the threat the German could pose. Plus, Zverev probably thinks that he's not as important here in Indian Wells. But Medvedev was sure there would be many rallies. Because, again, after about 20 shots, it was about who was going to make the best shot to try to throw their opponent off balance, which is hard to do here, according to Medvedev. Medvedev also said that while Zverev was coming back and getting better and better at playing, he didn't think the German was back to where he was before he got hurt, but every new match against a top player gave him a chance to get there. So Medvedev had to try his best and put it off until at least the next round, which, to be honest, is true. Guess what? He did exactly that when he won against Zverev. When asked about what he said after beating Zverev, Medvedev said he was just being immature. But Medvedev does think an improper court takes his attention away, and that he'd be better off just being quiet and playing. But at the same time, he's like that. He likes to rant about his struggles and gets over them once it's all done. And according to him, he used to be a lot worse when he was younger. He's tried to grow up of late, and he does think that he's a lot more mature and better at tennis now than he was 3 or 4 years ago, in many ways. He didn't act like an adult on the court today or with Ivashka. But well, what else can he say? That's also why this high-intensity sport, where you go head-to-head with your opponent, makes you hot. Some players are better than the others at controlling it. Some, like Medvedev, have less power over it. But unfortunately, he's not happy with how he acts on the court. Though when he's on the court, he goes crazy because sometimes he feels like he has hit 5 or 10 good shots in a row. Then he hits a winner, and he goes like, "That can't be right," and he goes nuts. But back to the Indian Wells court. The thing is, it's a puzzle of hell for some people, but a desert paradise for some. Roger Federer and Novak Djokovic have each won the men's title 5 times, but no woman has won it more than twice, which is surprising since all the greats played it often. Serena Williams aside, for well-documented reasons, although she still managed to win it twice too. But since the first round, the 25-year-old has moaned and groaned at almost every chance. He insults everyone in tennis, including umpires, stadium workers, opponents, and fans. And a lot of players have mentioned how he high-key has anger issues. At the Australian Open 2022, when fans laughed at him in the final, he called them idiots with no brains. And he turned his nose up when they cheered for him as he picked up his second-place prize. So it's easy to see that as the tournament went on, fans disliked Medvedev more and more, and that he treated people around him with less respect and more aggression. Medvedev can say that because he's Russian. Fans treat him differently. But the truth may be that tennis fans don't want to support someone who calls them idiots in a very angry manner. Though Daniil Medvedev isn't the only player who didn't like the courts at the Indian Wells Open.
Should be banned from playing here. Freaking disgrace to sport, this freaking court, and they call it hard court.
Holger Rune has also said that he wasn't happy with how the tournament was run. Stan Wawrinka beat the 7th seed Rune in the 3rd round. So I can understand Rune's frustration. According to him, the courts here are very slow and the balls are heavy. So you almost had to think like you were playing clay tennis. He explained how it was very different from Mexico, where they used a much lighter ball. He's usually pretty good at switching, but it didn't work so well on the Indian Wells court. His shots never had any bite, and for some reason his serve went dead. So it makes sense why so many players aren't fond of this court. But he's excited to play in Miami, which reminds him more of Mexico, because it's not as difficult as the Indian Wells court. Anyway, that's it for what Daniil Medvedev had to say about Indian Wells court.